Are you on a path of taking your passions, your skills, your talents, whatever they may be, and developing them into be true gifts and superpowers that you can then start to give and impact your sphere of influence, provide value to them, and look for deeper, more meaningful relationships from them? Well, let me ask you a question then. Have you ever felt like that passion that you have, the thing you're trying to do, was actually making others feel uncomfortable? What if every time someone maybe said something like, hey, you need to tone it down, they were actually witnessing what your greatest gift could be, just in a really raw form? Like, when was the last time that your intensity created a breakthrough that others thought were maybe impossible? Now, we're going to dive deeper into these topics. Now, my name is Jake Talbert. I'm the founder and author of the GIVER method. And today we're going to be diving deep into something that I know many people struggle with, and it's transforming what others may call like your too much into powerful gifts that you can give into the world. So stick around so we can dive into this. Before we dive in, of course, if you're new here, please hit subscribe, ring that bell for notifications, like the video, comment your thoughts along the way. I always love to see what people have to say. You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, or two websites to look at: thegivermethod.com if you want to get on our newsletter, or thegivermethodbook.com if you're wanting to get on the pre-launch list and get some bonuses before the Giver Method book comes out. Whichever it may be, whether you're on our newsletter list, you're on the channel, you're receiving the updates about the book, we don't want you to miss on any of the content that we have that helps you to unlock your potential and unlock and develop your gifts and superpowers so that you can become a true giver. Now, there's all sorts of videos on my channel about what GIVER is and what GIVER stands for, so just quick rundown. You can go check out the other videos if you need to know more. GIVER is an acronym, but it's all about, it's essentially, it's a framework that's all about helping people to identify and develop their gifts and superpowers so they can deliver those to the right people who are in their sphere of influence, delivering value to those people in order to make every engagement, interaction, discussion as effective as possible. And what happens is you have deeper, more meaningful relationships. You're able to step into who it is that you were meant to be and make a greater impact, and you invite the universe to pay you back by doing those things. Now, as I go through these, I like to share these principles so that it helps you to step into what those things could look like. And as I do, I like to share a principle or the idea and then give an action item that you can go do. So I recommend that you grab a piece of paper, open up a note, and jot down your thoughts of what you could do with that action item today or this week. Because although it's great that you're here watching the video, what's more impactful is what you do after it's done, the steps that you actually then go and take. So once again, I recommend open a note, grab a piece of paper so you can write down your thoughts there. Now, the big thing is like the truth that I like to cover is that your intensity that you may have that we were talking about, like, it is not a liability. It is really more, it's like raw material of the excellence that's inside you. And so what I want to do is help you break down these ways, that you can transform that too much into your superpower using the GIVER method. All right, so let's dive into them. The first one, I want to talk about intensity mapping. So this isn't just about recognizing your intensity, it's about understanding the different dimensions of it. Like, your intensity might show up as deep emotions or boundless curiosity, unrelenting creativity, maybe it's physical stamina, or maybe some sort of a spiritual sensitivity. Each of these different sizes, facets, levels is a clue to the areas where maybe you can make the greatest impact. And mapping your intensity means identifying not just its existence, but its role in shaping your interactions and decisions and contributions to others. So just reflect on how your intensity shows up in different areas of your life. Ask yourself questions like, what energizes me the most? What triggers my deepest reactions? And break it down into categories. Think of like emotional, intellectual, creative, physical, spiritual. For example, if your emotional intensity helps you empathize with, people on a deeper level, like, this could be your gateway to building stronger connections or advocating for causes that are really close to your heart. So what you can do, the action item here, once again, I like to give those, is grab your phone or a piece of paper, map out what your intensity is across these dimensions. Once again, emotional, intellectual, creative, physical, and spiritual, and rate the dimension on a scale of 1 to 10 on how strongly it shows up in your life, and identify where you naturally go all in these kind of power zones. And then write a sentence describing how each power zone has positively contributed to the lives of others. So reflect on recent situations where your intensity shined. What dimensions were at play? Pair each power zone that you may have with an example of how it positively impacted others or led towards your own personal growth, or highlight the dimension where you scored the highest and brainstorm a way that you can intentionally develop it deeper and be able then to contribute to others utilizing it. Now, the second principle is all about energy calibration. So energy calibration is the practice of taking and managing your intensity to ensure that you use it effectively, which can be hard to do when people are that intense. So think about your intensity as a high performance engine. Clearly, it has the power to do incredible things, but it needs to be fine-tuned to avoid any sort of burnout or overwhelming others. So it's not about dampening your energy, but maybe learning to adjust it to fit the moment that you're in. So start by observing how your energy levels shift throughout the day with different interactions. Use maybe a mental scale. Once again, let's think about it 1 to 10 to assess whether you're bringing too much or too little intensity to a situation. So the action item here is to track your energy output throughout the day by creating, as you journal or, jot down thoughts throughout the day, you can put a section that you can call your energy journal, your energy tracker. And for 1 week, note your energy levels in different activities and interactions and rate that energy. Write down how others responded, to those maybe more intense moments that you had. So look for those energy levels, what the other reactions are. Maybe identify those patterns where, maybe there are times where you tend to push too hard, or maybe that you held back, and then just practice adjusting that energy by experimenting, dialing it up or dialing it back as needed. Okay, so now our third principle is about value translation. So value translation involves transforming that raw intensity into maybe tangible benefits that others can easily understand and appreciate. Your intensity might feel overwhelming to some, but if you convert it into actionable ideas or solutions or inspiration, it can become a bridge to connect and impact others. So what you want to do is focus on simplifying your ideas and expressing that energy in a way that maybe resonates with others. Break down complex thoughts, into clear, maybe more accessible language that aligns with where they're at in that moment. So it's, if you're passionate about maybe a new project, articulate not just your excitement, but also how it's going to benefit others for the specific needs that you may have. Practice framing your intensity as an invitation rather than a demand. And so the action item here is to choose an area where your intensity often maybe feels overwhelming to others, and brainstorm maybe 3 ways that, how you can make that energy more accessible to others. Things like if your emotional intensity is really high, it overwhelms people, try sharing through stories instead of diving into the raw emotion. If your intellectual intensity is really, really high and seems like too much, simplify the complex ideas into maybe visual aids or analogies. Or maybe your physical energy is overbearing. Well, break activities into smaller, more shared tasks. Pick one of these areas, test it, see how it works out. Maybe look for honest feedback from others, and then refine that approach based on the feedback you get, and then go and try it again and again. That's the only way that you can continue to develop that. Now, the fourth principle is what I call strategic enthusiasm deployment. So that idea of strategic enthusiasm deployment, which is a lot, it's about intentionally sharing energy where it will create the greatest impact. So enthusiasm, it is contagious, but when applied incorrectly or too much at any time, it can lose that effect. So this idea, what it's going to do is it's going to push you to focus on your passion where it will truly make the difference, ensuring that your intensity uplifts rather than overwhelms people. So before you dive into any situation, pause and think to yourself, what does this moment require from me? And save your high energy, your highest energy for opportunities where enthusiasm will inspire or create excitement or solve some sort of a bigger problem. Well-timed burst of energy during a maybe a team brainstorm can ignite creativity. It can, calm the approach for others. There's all sorts of things that it can do. So for an action item, identify maybe 3 moments in your daily or weekly routine where enthusiasm could have the most impact, and write down how you can bring energy to these moments in ways that benefit others, such as motivating a team or inspiring a friend or solving a situation for you and your family. And you may need to reflect on some of those past situations you've had, and identify how that enthusiasm showed up and what made it work. Maybe schedule some times to maybe strategically deploy enthusiasm. Look for areas, brainstorm ideas where you could do that. Maybe it's a family dinner, maybe it's when you're getting together with friends. How do I create a joyful atmosphere where I can really apply that enthusiasm? And then after each moment, jot down, what was the outcome? How did others respond to that enthusiasm? And build on the habit of being very intentional about how you deploy it. Now, the fifth principle is really, active listening or deep listening protocol. Deep listening, it flips common perception of intensity by, taking it from thinking of it as overpowering and reframes it as a tool for deep connection. So channeling your energy into active, intentional listening can create such meaningful exchanges that make others feel so valued and heard. And so what you want to do is practice fully focusing on the other person speaking without planning whatever that response would be or interjecting on what they're saying. And use natural curiosity. Ask thoughtful questions that encourage deeper sharing. Don't respond back immediately with your own perspective. Just reflect back on what you've heard and ensure, you've got clarity. And if not, ask questions so that you can get that clarity and then respond back to demonstrate that understanding. This not only strengthens your relationships, but it helps you refine how your intensity is going to contribute to different conversations. So the action item here, practice intensive curiosity by channeling any sort of natural intensity you have into a deep, focused listening. And during your next conversation, set a goal to ask maybe 3 open-ended questions that could encourage the person to share more deeply. Now, our sixth principle, it's about developing maybe some sort of an impact assessment system. So that way it can help you to evaluate your intensity and how it influences others and whether it achieves the outcome you're actually trying to do. This is going to be about gaining awareness of the ripple effect of your energy and refining the approach based off of feedback. So after maybe some sort of significant interactions or a project, take time to reflect on the outcomes. Did your intensity energize or overwhelm? Did it lead to progress or resistance? And maybe you need to ask some trusted close advisors to you. Maybe it's peers, maybe it's family, maybe it's coworkers, for honest feedback, and look for the patterns in their responses. If people often describe your passion as inspiring but occasionally overwhelming, you can just adjust the approach to maintain a positive impact while minimizing that unintentional strain that could come. So you can create a simple action item, but create a simple tracking system that evaluates how intensity affects others. So after each maybe bigger interaction or a project, think about how did your intensity contribute to the outcome? How did others respond to your energy? And what could I have refined or do different next time that would enhance that impact? Now, the seventh principle is about authenticity and balancing your authenticity. So authenticity balance is a practice of staying in tune with yourself and to your natural intensity while creating space for others to shine. It's about understanding that being fully yourself doesn't mean taking center stage all the time. It means knowing when to maybe step back and let others contribute. So think about in a group setting, monitor how your intensity affects that dynamic. Are you allowing others opportunity to share their ideas and energy? And maybe practice stepping back occasionally. Listen and observe. Now, this becomes harder as people move into leadership positions, but you have to do this. This balance not only fosters collaboration, but it's going to strengthen your authenticity and demonstrate respect for others' contributions. So think about it. Identify a situation where you can intentionally balance your authentic, intense self while creating space for others. It could be in a group setting, family, all sorts of settings that could be in. Now, our eighth principle, the final principle I want to cover, is what I call universe response recognition. So this is about noticing how the world reacts when you embrace your authentic intensity. Pay attention to maybe opportunities, connections, and feedback that comes your way. You can see how your energy creates positive change. So this comes back to journaling. Journal and track the moments when your intensity led to maybe unexpected outcomes and celebrate those outcomes, whether it's a new opportunity or a deepened relationship or maybe an inspiring idea. Reflect on them and identify what resonated with you the most, what resonated the most with others, and how your authentic energy contributed to that success. This sort of a recognition is going to reinforce confidence and resilience, and it's going to help you to start embracing your superpower even more. And so the action item here is keep a success log, a superpower success log, to document every time your authentic intensity led towards positive outcomes. Write down what happened. How's your intensity contributed and what opportunities or connections emerged as a result of that. Now, as you do this, as you work through these sort of ideas, there's going to be some challenges. Things like, workplace environments that discourage intensity, or relationships where energy feels maybe misunderstood. Self-doubt creeps in a lot in all sorts of natural ways, or criticism still affects you. So some things that I want you to practical things you could do. Choose a principle and just focus on it each day. Like, keep it simple. Document your experiences. Notice how the intensity is going to create breakthrough results, and then celebrate wins no matter how small that they may be. Because your intensity, it isn't too much. It's exactly what the world needs often to, it's what the world needs that often just settles for just enough. When you learn to channel it effectively, your natural intensity is going to become a force of positive change. Now, if you're ready to dive deeper into transforming your intensity into a superpower, then go to thegivermethod.com. Join the newsletter list, join the community, and you can receive more insights and tips and exclusive tips or insights about embracing your natural gifts. Or thegivermethodbook.com if you want to get onto that early release. The book should be coming out next month, and so get on that where you can get some early bonuses and such. And hey, if this video resonated with you, give it a thumbs up. Share it with someone who may need it, who maybe you feel is too much, and actually, that intensity could be one of their greatest assets. So until next time, keep growing, keep giving, and remember that the world doesn't need you to dim your light. It needs your intensity to shine as bright as possible. We just got to make sure we do it in the right way at the right time. So until next time, have a great rest of your day.